Well, there you are. Welcome to my podcast, I should say. Charlie Greer podcast. Again, I do this every day. Today. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about did Charles Manson do porn? Could be, perhaps. I don't know. I'm asking you guys. So, Nicholas Schreck, he wrote the Manson files. I suggest go check out Nicholas Schreck. Um, he's like the Elvis of the Mansons. Also, he's an awesome musician, Radio Werewolf. And he made a documentary about Manson. So check him out. He's got a new edited like version of the book Manson Files. Um, quite honestly, I haven't read that one yet, just to be honest. But I did read the black and purple one. Or it's got the best stuff. I think he's right on the money about with that matter of fact, without his work, we wouldn't know a lot of the things that we know now are true. Because he's not in the whole helter skelter, and I am not either. You know that's a that dog don't hunt. So yeah, Nicholas Schreck's book Manson File in that new version. See, I'm going. I watched like a 2 hour interview with this guy. He was talking about like Charlie doing porn. Like maybe, I mean, if you're in that world, why not? It was the '60s. I mean, and it was kind of strange porn, weirdo porn. I don't know. But there's some strange stuff about Charles Manson that the people think, oh, he's just a hippie. For one, he was only out for like 2 years when all that shit happened. He'd been in jail, in jail, his cellies, like he had to. Frank Costello, huh? Some nobody hillbilly from Kentucky. Frank Costello's cellie. That's strange. If you don't know who Frank Costello is, he was one of the big mob guy. I mean, shit. Um, he probably didn't even have to have a cellie. I don't know. And then Charlie Manson knew guitar. He could play a good song, wrote a good song. Did Charles Manson? But who taught him to play guitar? Creepy Carpus, another Manson. I mean, mob. Fucking hey, you just can't get don't get too familiar. You know what I mean? You just can't get too familiar with some certain people. And these Frank Costello and Creepy Carpus, in jail? Like I know in jail is a different world, but how did little Charlie Manson? Um, Well, he did come from bootleggers in Kentucky, so maybe these is one of his uncles or granddaddies knew Frank. I don't know, but that's straight. That's kind of weird. They let him out. Also, before he did was released in the '60s, in the '50s when he got arrested, he was running like a And I've told this before in uh my podcast that my other Manson episode is that I had a friend that rented unknowingly Charlie's like old apartment on Franklin behind like Hollywood Boulevard and all that, right by the Magic Castle, and people be throwing rocks and then bugging him. It was printed in books like the address and what apartment he went. So he was there for like 7 months, moved out, maybe not that long. So when Charlie was living in that apartment on Franklin, he was running like an agency, which it turned out was like call girls or something. And again, I know this because of Nicholas Schreck and in the investigation he's done, and he knew Charlie. He interviewed him in prison. Again, check out Nicholas's Manson files if you want to do the deep dive. If you want to know, he's the one. So yeah, I'd been to that apartment. Matter of fact, right before he moved out, some older dude and a couple like these Manson people, and I don't even think they were from anyway. They somehow got in. Like she started dating my friend, and then she moved in. Like, oh, by the way, I have a boyfriend. He moved, and the next thing you know, my friend's on the couch, and they're living in his bedroom, like that kind of shit. And these people were like Manson devotees. Remember, he had me come over. And he's like, I can't take it anymore. So yeah, weird. And that little area on Franklin with the Magic Castle, that's a weird area in Hollywood, right behind the Man's Chinese Theater, Franklin Boulevard. So that's strange. Also, I think it was Nicholas where I heard where Charles Manson used to host an elite illegal poker game at Elvis's house, like back in the day. Huh? Can you imagine Charles Manson hanging out with like Elvis Presley? Oh, hey man, Charlie, come on. Are you serious? Is that again? We live in a strange, mysterious world, but that probably makes sense. Um, of course, Charlie hadn't been involved. Well, I don't even know. Uh, yeah. So yeah, Nicholas says that Charlie did porn. Maybe it was in this time period when he was out before he went back in and got out in the late 60s. Maybe when he had that agency on Franklin, maybe he was doing porn. Hell, I don't know. Back then, I think it was illegal, so it's harder to. And maybe that's what they what was his charges? Did they ever like say his charges? I know that did they sneak in some kind of porn charges? But now if he did, and this is my humble opinion, that's the porn I want to see. I want to see everything about Charlie Manson. I'd love to see one of his old porns. Is he like hung like a well rope or something? That's why he was. I don't know. Speculation. Was he like the underground porn king? Like, hey, we can rely on that guy. He'll do 3 scenes a day, or because that's in porn. I used to live in the Valley, in San Fernando Valley, and I used to edit porn. I started doing like data entry, and then I started editing. It's just in and out points, and you just edit it together. It's simple. I could teach anybody to do it, and I did. I would do like 30 DVDs a day. Like, because they had all these scenes. You just like up, fade in, fade out, then put them all together, and then some other guy would do the editing. The artwork for the. So yeah, I worked around that. So what they would do is, if someone's an able-bodied porn person, that is usually over and over and over, because they don't want to look around. He's getting. And the reason I stopped editing porn, doing it was desensitizing me. I actually editing porn. Like, I turned down the volume. I started like doing it without the volume, because you just so much of that you can take. An 8-hour day, you just no. You just said, like, what are you doing, man? Well, you got to know if the sound's messed up. I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? So I eventually quit. I just didn't want 8 hours of editing like 30 DVDs. And they're all like volume 1, volume 17. It wasn't like any kind of artist. No, just slapping scenes together and mastering them and burning them to DVD. You just kind of, you'd be at band practice. What's wrong with you, Charlie? There's a weird look in your eye. Well, see, I just edited like 1,700 scenes or something. That's stupid. Just. So we're moving on. But back to that's what in porn, they would use you. You would be like, oh, if he could do it, then. Or was he doing his own thing? Like, say, if you're like independent porn dude and you want to do some stag movies or whatever they were back then, did you want to save money? Like, you know what? I'll do this. I'll just set up the camera and hey. I think a lot of people have, even if it's like home porn. Yeah, I bet there's a lot of, I bet there's actually a market for that. And Nicholas talks about this, like supposedly certain people in Hollywood, the rich people, that's what they do. They like to collect like blackmail porn or home porn of like celebrities or whatever that slips out, and they'll pay big money. Like, no, I'm not going to distribute it. I just need it for my collection. If you're that rich, shit. But blackmailing porn, that's the thing. They've been doing that. Was he a porn blackmailer? That's another thing. Did he? Well, I'll have to be in it because I know that they won't suspect me. Perhaps, maybe. I think it's fascinating. Like what? I mean, people have, again, Charlie Manson is not like a good guy. But what the hell? That life he lived. And those 2.5 years, 3 years when he got out and then he went back after all the. And I also, I mean, again, he's guilty of certain things, but those killings, those nights, he wasn't there. And they said, well, he sent us. We were LSD zombies on a helter skelter. Are you kidding me? We were hypnotized, huh? Or whatever they said. To me, this seems like something very, very suspicious. One, the phone line's cut. Who does that? Some kind of hippies are going to climb up and know what the line in the dark. And also the dude that was left alive. There was one of them. There was like everywhere, people on the lawns, this, that, and the other. And there's some dude in there like, hey, just what happened? I've been here all night. Like, I mean, they cleared him, but man, something is up. It wasn't helter skelter. If anything, it might have been a drug, like Nicholas says. It was a drug. It was a robbery, a drug deal gone bad, or you know, people. Hey, it's Hollywood. They'll cover that up. That makes more sense to me. That it would be like, just some stupid shit. With powerful people, though, they can like get away with certain things. And there might have been like not drug dealing, but like the stars. They need a lot of drugs. So where are you going to get it from? Certain people, and then they didn't want it to look into. It would the tentacles go kind of far, and they don't want everybody to know, so they would shit. I mean, again, Manson is not the second night he was there, but he didn't participate in the. I think he went in and tied him up. That you're still guilty right there. That's not cool. Did he? I don't know. And also, Tex Watson is the one that killed everybody. That fool, shit. And this is the thing I have about like Charles Manson, like why certain things aren't unfair. Yeah, it's unfair because he's involved. Tex whatever. But man, they had Charles Manson in the hole. Like he couldn't do much of anything. I'm sure he was in general population for a while, but then again, I'm sure once he started doing interviews back in the 80s and stuff, and they took away his guitar and this, that, and the other. And I'm sure he's a criminal. He might have been doing stuff in prison that there's businesses to run and shit that, I'm speculating maybe. So, but Tex Watson, they let him become like a preacher, and he had a wife and bred and had conjugal visits, and that's the dude that did all the crazy shit. That's the guy you got to watch out for. Will he snap again? Charles Manson, he's like 5 foot 110 or something. Tex Watson is like 6'4", 250. I don't know, something like that. So it's like, why would you give Tex all these privileges and little Charlie? But maybe that's what, because he would run over. He might. Hey, he was a manipulator, so maybe. But he grew up. He that last time he didn't want to get out. He's like, dude, don't let me out. I'm institutionalized, man. I've been here since I was like 12. Nope, here you go. And then they released him like San Francisco, the hate of the woo, and he just kind of, again, right off the bat, he's got all these girls around him. He's got a credit card. He's got a school bus. He's got this, that, nothing. Breaking parole, not going to see, traveling. It's crazy. How did he do that? And the other guy, I forgot his name. I haven't read his book. And forgive me, I'm sorry. But he said there might be some kind of CIA operation, something going on. Again, I don't know. But one thing I do know through history, just getting through history, the best like spies are ones that don't know they're spies. The best agents are ones that don't know they're agents. The best slaves are ones that don't know they're slaves. You don't tell people. You sheep dip them, I mean, that's intelligence is weird. You got to look into that. Did they use Charlie? Just for, again, I don't know. That seems a little complicated too, because people are people make mistakes. But then again, there might be these like narcissist sociopaths in the government that they work 16 hours a day. And I don't know. And what would that operation be? What would it be called? So, because there was an Operation Patchouli or something. We're going to take the counterculture and invert it into I don't know. That seems a little bit, you're stretching, But there's this strange stuff. Again, If he did do porn, I think it's because, this is my humble opinion, I don't know. I'm really wanting to read the new version of Manson Files by Nicholas Schreck. Check it out. And watch the documentary too. It's really good. And listen to Radio Werewolf. It's awesome. So, if say in the 50s or the early 60s when he was doing this agency out of the apartment on Franklin, maybe he was doing stag movies, maybe private ones too. Like, it wasn't like, hey, go to see the theater. No, like he knew maybe when he was doing those poker games at Elvis's, if he did, there might be a interest in that. Like, you know what? I need some new porn, but it's illegal. So, and this is before video, man. It had to be like on a 8mm or something, like film. It's not as easy as you would think, and the lighting had to be shit. How much lighting do you need on them? No sound, probably, unless he was juiced into Hollywood and had camera. Again, I'm just speculating, but maybe that's what Nicholas. Again, I haven't read the book, and if I did, I wouldn't want to give any spoilers. But maybe that's what he's onto too. And I hope that people don't think I'm talking out of school, because I did read the first version. It's just that the new one I've reread. I mean, it was frayed because I'm just interested. My inquiring mind wants to know about certain things, crime, paranormal, all this stuff. So of course I'm gonna reread parts of. But there's just strange stuff around the whole thing about Bruce Davis, one of the guys that also got picked up and arrested for some of the murder. He went to England to study Scientology. Like, who does that? Like, why would you have to go to England when the Scientologists are right in LA? You just like, oh, there we are, boom, you're right there. It's weird. Or is that a cover though? That's like the word. That's some kind of stupid shit you do. I was in London studying Scientology. What? I mean, back then it was expensive to travel. You're just some hippie guy. Where'd you get that money to go to London and study with? Strange. But like, I maybe it was Nicholas Schreck's book that I read back in the day. But I used to go to the ashram on top of Mount Washington in LA, the Self-Realization Center. It was started by the Paramahansa Yogananda, and it's about Kriya Yoga and meditation, which actually is a good thing. It's not a religion. Any religion can, and I used to go up there because it's nice up there in the gardens. You can walk, you can meditate. So I'd go up there when I started looking into meditation and stuff. And or an interview with Charlie, like he talked about, he was into self-realization too. I think he went to the ones down on the coast, like in Redondo and like Oceanside or something. Like he went to back in the day, maybe it was the 50s or 60s. I don't know. But I'd go up there a lot. Matter of fact, I would take I'm getting off subject, but I'd take the train, and then you could call the monks, and they'd come down and pick you up on a air-conditioned van, take you back up, hey, and hang out, do your meditation, come back. And I learned a lot from Kriya Yoga. I never went into the whole, for one, I can't sit in those positions. I know. But it turned me on to meditation and prayer in my faith. But yeah, there's strange things about Charlie. Were they into? I get it was the hippie movement. Like maybe they were all into that. Elvis loved to go to the same place, the Self-Realization Center. Elvis loved going there. Matter of fact, there's a story of him like sneaking in. But how many hours in the day, like those couple years, 3 years that Charlie, I mean, shit, is that when he did it? Or was it before he went to all these? And Bruce David going to, you know how people are, just to get, and also they were at that Spawn Ranch, the old movie ranch and stuff, which I've been by 1,000 times. It's tore down now. Matter of fact, majority of the times that I was driving by, I didn't even know. I had no idea that's where, when I finally was like, that was there. What, huh? Because literally right down the road, you're back in like, Connecticut Park or Reseda or Granada Hill, wherever those little towns, you're right there. You just pop, boom. But then again, when you get on that Susanna Pat, whatever, man, you're in the middle of a Western movie, basically. Big rocks and deserty. How did he feed all those hippies too? I know they were dumpster diving, but man, you need a lot of lettuce and rice and beans um, and everybody was down there. I met people. I talked about this in my Manson earlier videos. Is that I used to manage the Lions Lair in the early 2000s, and that was like a legendary, one of the oldest like head shops in LA. And they knew those people. They used to go to the owners. They were older. They'd go to the Spawn Ranch, and one of the guys that I worked with, this older dude, he was like, "Oh, anytime I was born back then, I would just go to the Spawn." Really? And then some of those older family members, the family, I guess, or hangers on, whoever they were, they sold like bamboo pipes and tweeted, this kind of head shop stuff. They made it, handmade it. They would come in and I'd buy off of them. And the owner was like, "Okay, yeah, the family's coming in." Like, the family? What the who? And some of them weren't as old as I thought. I thought they were like the ancient. Like, some of them were older, and they talked about it was something about to do with a crime within a crime. Like, they weren't telling me. I'd always give them the office to spread out their blanket, get all their stuff out. I'd come in like, "Okay," I'd buy this stuff, and it took them forever. They had just like suitcases, and um, they were cool, but hippies, man, they want to talk, and so uh, I heard that when I'd come in or go back, I was all in and out of the office. Whatever, they'd stop talking when I. But what I heard when I was walking was that it's something that was about a crime within a crime, and I shouldn't even say because this is like I don't even know, but that's what and something to do with the landlord and these things that they didn't even know about the people that I don't know. That's what they were saying. And sure enough, when I'd walk, they'd stop talking. It wasn't like, "Oh yeah, won't you guys tell?" Or they're telling me. No, I just had to like, eavesdrop. Not even eavesdrop because we had a kitchen there and it went into the office. I'd keep the door open too, so sometimes you could hear them. Again, they were nice people. At first, I was kind of scared. Like, who are these people? Yeah, man, they were sweet. They were cool, you know. But and they didn't say anything about Charlie doing porn. But I'm thinking in my mind that's a high. He probably did porn. Pardon me. There's a lot more people that do porn than you think. I mean, there's stunt cocks and all kinds of other stuff. There's, hey, I used to run into porn stars all the time in LA, especially when I lived in the Valley. All the time. Again, I worked and for these agencies, and I did data entry, and then I became a photo editor. And the strange thing is, a lot of bands did. I'm not going to name the bands, but they worked in the warehouse. They did this, they did that. We were all working at these. We weren't doing porn. Fuck no. But it paid good, and they would train you. They just needed an able-bodied person, man. Back in like the 90s, porn paid well behind the scenes, like data entry. Like my first porn, I shouldn't say that, but the first porn job is they gave me an office. I'd get a stack of papers. I had a computer, and I just entered the data about these movies or whatever, or that's all I did. And I still got kind of desensitized just because they had a warehouse and the porn stars in and out, and it was just. I mean, at first it's kind of fun. You're like, "Oh wow, that was a great job," but then you're like, "Oh man, porn, shit." No, I was in a band. I remember I told him I was quitting because I'd also get invited to parties and dinner things and this, that, and blah, blah, blah. And I'd take along my band. And when I quit, they're like, "No, what are you talking about? I met my girlfriend through there." And I said, "Shit, I can't." One of these days I'll talk about that. I kind of did, I think, but I will. So yeah, I think that you're in LA and maybe you're like, there's money to be made. There's job opportunities that don't exist anywhere else. So. But I don't see Charlie just doing porn from up. Maybe he did. But maybe it was because they were shooting porn and they needed, you know what I mean? It's illegal. You don't want too many people knowing about it. Like, which one are you going to do it? Oh, hell, I'll do it. Maybe. Is there porn? Like some kind of old director in Hollywood or some kind of publisher or some kind of porn king has it all? Does he show it at like private parties, like with people he trusts? Like, hey, is it like Charlie Manson porn Wednesdays, and they come over and woo. I don't know. It could be, you know. Again, I look forward to reading the new version of Manson Files. I might have to rewatch the documentary. Again, Nicholas Schreck, go check him out. Um, and it's a strange world in LA. When you get in there, especially if you're looking for, if you do weirdo stuff, well, hell, that's the best place to do it. So if you're like, you'll be like, hey, me too. You'll meet people. I mean, um, you can go to one of their conventions, maybe. Yeah, I think there's a high probability that he did. I think Nicholas Schreck is right on track. He's done I think, the best investigating on this case. He is the one. He has, check him out. Go buy his book. Buy them both. Buy both, hell. And the one I had was big. It was thick. It was, again, it was frayed by the time I would just keep it by my by my like a couch and my recliner I had, and then I would like turn on the TV and just put it on mute so the TV's on, and I'm getting my visual stimuli, but I'm reading, a good book. If you're into true crime, if you're into that, some people are like, no, I don't want to know. But I think that Helter Skelter is not true. That theory that Vincent Bugliosi and all of them, I don't think that they took a little bit of the truth. Of course, some of it's true, but they just took a snippet of what was going on. And at the end there, when they arrest him at the Barker Ranch, I've never been to the Barker Ranch, but it's in Death Valley, I think. One of those valleys. Dude, the desert is brutal. Oh, you think? No. How they got just to survive, just to get there. And I guess they were flourishing. Man, the desert is it's beautiful, but man. I was in Santa Margarita, I think it is, like near Palm Springs. I thought I was gonna die. Just getting out of my car to go to the grocery. Man, I've never felt heat like that. And when I went into the store, there was a station there. People were like giving you ice packs on your head and feeding you water. I mean, I almost didn't make it home. My car was like, it was like 100 and something. I mean, it was horrible. I've never felt that. And they were deeper in the opposite direction. I think it is. Yeah, but strange and like a movie, are Nicholas and that guy both right about certain things? That's another thing. Is stuff can align? Will we ever know? There's got to be a file on Charles Manson. There had to be. Wouldn't they like leave no stone unturned, and they would this and that, and you would think so. Are we gonna find out about certain things about those murders and the Charles Manson? I think so. I think that, hey, even if it wasn't like some kind of, were they being surveillance? There had to be planted people at that ranch or around that. That's what they did. Well, they still do, but that's what you do. If you're the cops or some kind of like drug enforcement agency or whatever it is, wouldn't you? But then wouldn't you think that Charles Manson, being in prison all those years, could smell that? Like, just as soon as, oh no, he had more criminal spidey senses that he would just know. I don't know. Could it be crime within a crime? Did Charles Manson do porn? Could be. Maybe not. Will we ever know? Maybe. I'm just leaving it at that. But look, I do this every day. I rant and rave every day. You can go back and Dip your beak in my Ranny. Every day on the daily. I love y'all. See you tomorrow. Be blessed. Cheers.